Hello everyone, and welcome to a 2-cost Togh Keyoh deck review. And I actually again have two different deck lists, I guess, like vampires, mainly because of one certain card kind of being tougher to find, that being Itsurugi. But I wanted to go over the normal deck list first, and then, you know, if you want to adjust it, you can. I am recording this after Sunday online locals. So I wanted to record it kind of relatively shortly after locals to just make sure any thoughts I had were still just, you know, around and I could recall them quicker and easier. And it's also a Sunday compared to a work day, so I have more time. So starting off, this is very close to one deck that I saw earlier. And there's like literally like one card difference, but it just seems to kind of help having 3 copies instead of 2. But anyways, I'll start with kind of going over the cards first. First is Luna Soulkeeper. She's a 1-cost 0/2 that on Fanfare you put a Luna's Doll token into the EX area, and then her act ability, you can select an Abysscraft follower in your cemetery not named her that costs 2 or less and add it to your hand, and activate only if there's at least 10 cards in your cemetery. The Luna's Doll token is a 1-cost amulet, and it says on Fanfare, bury the top 2 cards of your deck, and then you can bury it and draw a card, but you can only activate it if you have 10 or more cards in cemetery. This might seem like kind of like an odd option for 2-cost Togh Keyoh, but the fact that you can grab any 2-cost card in your deck, or I should say any 2-cost follower, it just makes it very flexible where do you need Yuzuki Bloodlord for like a mid-game play, or you need Itsurugi to eventually, you know, summon and deal with a bunch of spam on the board, or you can grab Exhumation Crow to grab back a demon follower, which is usually going to be Ilze and Urze, which we'll get to in a second. So it's very flexible, and or actually also Kagero. I've also grabbed Kagero late game to finish games with Soul Strike. So next is Yuzuki Bloodlord. She's a 2-cost 2/2 that on Fanfare you select an enemy follower on the field. If there's at least 10 2-costs in your cemetery, you destroy it. A really solid effect, but just it's kind of more of a late game effect, not an early game, which is fine. And then evolves for 1 into a 3/3, and on evolve you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and you may put a 2-cost from among them into your EX area, and it costs 2 less to play this turn. And then you just put the other card on the bottom of your deck in any order. Pretty good. I don't know what to say. She just literally fits the deck perfectly. There used to be Vuela 1-Winged Demon as well, which was like a 2-cost 2/3 that you played 1 play point to check the top card of your deck, and if it was a 2-cost, you could put it in the EX area and it was free to play for the turn. But that one, it's a little slower than Yuzuki, because Yuzuki you can actually at least get off on turn 2 by paying an evolve point, which after playing this deck, speaking of evolving and evolve points, this deck seems to feel like it wants to go second. It can really utilize the evolve points like really well, because all your followers that evolve are either, you know, 2-cost evo for 1 or you know, 3-cost evo for 1. So they're all very low to the ground, so it feels like you can kind of spam followers pretty easily, especially when you effectively have like 2 different chipper skippers in the deck. The first one being Yuzuki Bloodlord, and the second one being the Ilze and Urze on evolve, but we'll get to that shortly. And Yuzuki Bloodlord, her Fanfare effect actually kind of like makes the next cards on evolve basically irrelevant, but we'll talk about Gnawing Rat's base form first. It's a 2-cost 2/2 that when you go to play this, you may discard a 2-cost card and it'll cost 1 less. So this is kind of one card that solved one of the major issues of 2-cost. Was literally you prior to at least at 18, you'd almost always want to go first, just to make sure that your opponent only got 1 free like dead turn from you, right? Because once it comes back around to you for the second turn, you can just start playing your 2-cost cards. If you were forced to go second and your opponent plays like a goblin, like a 1-cost 2/2 on turn 1, and then you're like draw a pass because again you had like no other 1-cost to play, and then they start summoning something else on their second turn, you are like really behind at that point. So Gnawing Rat at least helps kind of get a body on the board turn 1, and then you're not even like losing anything because you get to draw a card when you play it. Its evolve is 4. and it's on evolve, it turns into a 4/4 if I remember correctly, and on evolve it destroys an enemy follower. But that is just so expensive to play when you have something like Itsurugi, which just lets you just kill something for just having 10/2 cost in cemetery. And you really won't even have an issue destroying anything until like much later in the game anyways. One card I can think of is like Burnite, where normally it'd be a little bit of a struggle to deal with her, but because of like something like Itsurugi, as long as you have 10/2 cost in cemetery, you can just play Itsurugi, just kill Burnite, and then just move on with your turn. Next, which really synergizes well with Gnawing Rat, is Trail of Light. It's a 2-cost spell that says when it's, you really don't want to play it. I mean, you can. Actually, I think there was one game I played today where I actually just played it because I had nothing else going on a turn 2 play point turn. But normally you just have it because when it's discarded, you get to draw a card. And so there is a few different cards in this deck, one of them being Gnawing Rat here, and it's a really good combo turn 1 to just play Gnawing Rat for 1 less by discarding Trail of Light, Fanfare of Gnawing Rat, draw a card, Trail of Light, draw a card. It's like a, you know, discard 2 to draw 2 for a goblin body. Like, it's a really good early game combo. Obviously, it's kind of reliant on randomness if you actually do get there, but if it does happen, oh, it feels so good. Next up is Full Moon of Centennial Demise. It's a 2-cost spell that says deal 1 damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower on the field, and if there are at least 10 2-cost cards in your cemetery, deal 2 damage instead. You probably realize at this point, if you're not familiar with 2 costs, that it is kind of like a Necrocharge based deck, but it really counts 2 costs, so it's not generic Necrocharge. But this is more, this is kind of like the board clear that the deck can run to deal with things like mono and Machina Abyss and vampires and stuff like that. A really good card, kind of lame, not super great early on, but once you can deal 2 to the board and enemy leader, then it's really good. And also, it's not a bad option. There's some cards in the deck too. I just want to mention that, like, it's not necessarily the worst to just like discard this early. If you have like Gnawing Rat that needs a 2-cost card discarded. Next up is Itsurugi, Eager Admirer. He is a 2-cost 3/2 that you can pay 4 play points to advance evolve him, and you banish this copy on the field to summon Itsurugi Paradise's End from your evolve deck. And activate only if there are at least 5 festive cards or at least 10 abyss cards in your cemetery. And you fanfare put a Wolfling Struggle token into your EX area, which the Wolfling Struggle is a 0-cost spell that says select an enemy follower on the field, deal it 1 damage, and you may discard a card. If you do, bury the top card of your deck. The discarding is optional, as you can clearly tell with the May. And sometimes it's relevant because sometimes you are like right on the precipice of having enough 2-cost cards in the cemetery to be able to get additional effects, or even just have enough to just advance Evo Itsurugi. And the fact that you can also run Trail of Light to just discard it, mill a card, and then, you know, draw a card off a Trail of Light. So it's another Trail of Light option. Do keep in mind, there is a little bit of, I guess, for lack of a better word, anti-synergy with Trail of Light, because Itsurugi, in order to advance evolve him, needs 10 Abysscraft cards in Cemetery, and Trail of Light's the only neutral 2-cost, so that won't count. Happens once in a blue moon that this comes up, that it's like I am just short, but that's usually because I also kind of unluckily mill a bunch of like Ilzes and Urzes, like the non-2-cost cards as well, in Luna. So just kind of keep that in mind with Itsurugi. It's not just 10 cards in Cemetery, it's 10 Abysscraft cards in Cemetery. The advanced form of Itsurugi, the 4-cost 6/5, the 4-cost really doesn't matter because you're obviously summoning it with the base form Itsurugi. But on Fanfare, you select up to 3 enemy followers on the field and deal 5 damage to one and 2 damage to the others. And then during your turn, whenever an enemy follower is put from the field to the cemetery, you deal 2 damage or 1 damage to its leader and give your leader 1 defense. So this helps with some board clear, a little bit of board control, and it's just a standing 6/5. Really just good stats, and just kind of something that opponents just, it kind of draws opponents' attention to, like, I got to deal with this or I'm eating 6 next turn. So, you know, really good card to try to threaten on the board. Trying to think, what was, I felt like there was like one more thing I was going to mention about this card, but it's failing me. If I remember, I'll bring it back up and mention it. Well, I guess also do keep in mind that the Wolfling Struggle can help finish off an enemy follower if something is at like 6 defense or 3 defense, you know, between the 5 damage and the 2 damage that the advanced form does. Or there's been situations that's been really nice where you kill 3 things with Paradise's End, and then there's just like a 4th follower that has 1 defense, and so you just ping it off with Wolfling Struggle to heal and deal again. So just a nice little combo there. Next is Soul Strike, which is a 2-cost spell that says select an enemy follower on the field and deal 4 damage, and if you have Necrocharge 20, deal 4 damage to its leader. I can't believe after playing this the deck so much this weekend, how much the game just kind of depends on if I have Soul Strike to just finish the game with like multiple Kageros in hand. It's kind of crazy. I honestly thought Ved, which is the next card, would be like the main killer, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, you can play Ved a lot in this deck, but it's kind of crazy how much I'm just like Kagero, Soul Strike, that's 4, and then like Ved, like deal 3 more. Like it's kind of funny, and it helps that like Luna can grab Kagero by, you know, engaging her, because she can grab a 2-cost Abyss card, and Kagero is 2-cost Abyss, which I suppose while I have it here, I'll bring it up since I'm already talking about Soul Strike. But he's a 2-cost 2/2 on Necrocharge. He has Russian Bane. This is a continuous ability. So if he was on the board when you, like, let's say had like 8 cards in Cemetery, and then you buried 2 more cards to get to Necrocharge 10, this still triggers, and it's just on. And then on Fanfare, you can select a Soul Strike in your Cemetery and put it into your EX area, and if you have Necrocharge 20, it costs 2 less to play. This is the effect that you would play late game to just kind of finish out the game. And then the other main effect, which is the more early game effect, is you bury the top 2 cards of your deck, so it helps you get more 2-cost in Cemetery, and he's a 2-cost as well, so if he does have Bane and Rush, you could just run him into something to, you know, finish something off. But late game, especially when you're down to like 4 or 5 cards left in deck, you're definitely not burying the top 2 cards of your deck. You're going to mainly select a Soul Strike and make it free for the turn because you have Necrocharge 20. And then you just play the Soul Strike for free to deal 4 to an enemy follower and deal 4 to its leader. Do keep in mind that actually no, this actually is the same. I'm like thinking, I'm blinking for a second, but so there's a little bit of a weird interaction with Necrocharge 20. So the Fanfare effects check, and I remember this because of Demon Lord Ektar. Ektar is kind of like the same way, where it's like one of the Necrocharges is like checked like halfway through, but the Necrocharge count is determined on Fanfare, like at the moment that you play the card and you activate the effect. So if you're at 20 cards in Cemetery and you play Kagero, you can grab back Soul Strike and it costs 2 less to play, even though there's now 19 cards left in the Cemetery. However, you do have to keep in mind that you still need to get 1 more card back in the Cemetery, because if you play the Soul Strike for free, it's still only at 19, so you wouldn't be able to deal 4 damage to the enemy leader. I was thinking of Demon Lord Ektar, because Ektar also, like halfway through his effect of summoning stuff back from Cemetery, if you're at Necrocharge 20, things get +3/+3, and that does still activate even if, like, let's say Ektar was at 20 cards in Cemetery and you summon 2 things back, so you're down to 18. Because Ektar saw on Fanfare that there were 20 cards in Cemetery, it still buffs everything +3/+3. So Kagero's skill still doesn't care if you go down to 19, but if you try to play Soul Strike, you got to make sure you're at 20. So just a weird little interaction. I can't tell you how many times I'm like just on the cusp of Necrocharge 20, and it's just like, nope, I can't get there. I can't do Kagero Soul Strike just yet. So yeah, it's a pretty long-winded explanation, but it's very important. Next is Ved Beowulf, one of the new Togh Keyoh cards. It's a 2-cost 3/3 that on Fanfare you may discard a 2-cost card. However, and if you do, you draw a card. However, if you don't, you bury him, aka you sacrifice him. He goes to the Cemetery. So it's a way to kind of prove that you're actually playing 2 costs like Abyss, which, you know, technically it's not proving because you could just discard another 2-cost card, but, you know, close enough. I'm going on a tangent here. Anyways, his act ability is select an enemy leader or enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage, and you can only activate it if you have at least 10 2-cost cards in Cemetery and only once per turn. Makes sense, because that'd be crazy if for no play points to just continuously deal 3 to your opponent. That'd be kind of ridiculous. But yeah, he's kind of like the main way you try to soften up your opponent and you know, be lethal. But the 2-cost discard as well also works with Trail of Light. So you could play Ved, discard Trail Light, draw a card, and then off the Trail Light's effect, draw another card. So, you know, between Gnawing Rat, Ved, and Itsurugi's Wolfling Struggle token, you have, you know, you don't have like, it's not an insane amount of options, but it's like just enough cards in the deck that make you discard that it's certainly feasible to run Trail of Light. I've also seen deck lists without Trail of Light, and I understand, like, especially if you're running Itsurugi, you kind of want the consistency of just knowing all your cards work with Itsurugi. But I feel like there's enough flexibility in the deck that, like, I do kind of like it. Like, it kind of keeps the hand going. Next is Covetous Serpent. It's a 2-cost 2/2 that evolves for 5, so very expensive. Rarely does it happen. And you may engage it and reveal 2-cost cards, 2-cost cards from your hand, and select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 4. This is kind of like the equivalent of the deal 2 or pay 2, deal 4 to an enemy follower that many decks have. The Evolve hasn't come up for me once, and honestly, well, I'll show the Evolve first, I guess, before I kind of give my full opinion, but it's a 4/4 for 5 play points total, which is like crazy. You only get +2/+2. He does get Storm, and on Evolve you do refresh him, so it does allow him to Storm, or you could engage him again, reveal 2-cost cards to deal 4 to an enemy follower again. So it's whichever one you want. On Evolve, you can swing for 4 to the opponent, or deal 4 to an enemy follower again. I think ideally, if you're getting this late in the game, that you're actually going to Evolve him. You're going to want to try to hit it for face to try to finish the game, but it is really hard to justify paying 2 for the base and then paying 5 more for a total of 7 for a 4/4 that can Storm for 4. It's in here, but honestly, I'm like half debating on just taking out the 1 copy of Covetous Serpent and just putting a 3rd copy of Itsurugi, because I can just grab Itsurugi with like Luna. And it feels like enough deck spam that like it's not unwarranted to just grab another copy of Itsurugi and play him. So, food for thought. I'll probably do that and then kind of, you know, see how it feels and go from there. Next is Crescent Moon of Centennial Death, like one of my most favorite cards in this deck. It's a 2-cost spell and says select a 2-cost Togh Keyoh follower in your cemetery and summon it. Very simple. And so the ideal choice is usually Ved, because it's just it's essentially another copy of Ved, right? It costs 2 to play. Ved is 2. Also, Ved is overstated, which is weird. Dumb, but normally like 2 costs are either 2/3 or 2/2 or 3/2, but he's a 3/3. So yeah, you normally bring back Ved, discard some, you know, Trail of Light or something else. Like Gnawing Rat is perfectly fine to discard later on in the game because he doesn't do much later on. To keep Ved alive, you know, draw a card, deal 3 to the opponent. Really dumb. Next is Exhumation Crow. It's a 2-cost 2/2 that on Fanfare you reveal 2 2-cost cards from your hand and give your leader 2 defense. This 2 defense actually has given me, like, it feels like a decent amount of breathing room. Maybe based on the couple games I recorded previously, don't think the 2 life really mattered, but in other games I've played, it feels like that heal 2 kind of took like the edge off of the pressure. I don't know how to describe it other than, like, you know, just kind of made it feel like lethal was less certain. And you can always just play it for, you know, for 2 play points to heal 2. I don't think that's great, but, you know, if you have an abundance of play points and you are a little low on life, then, you know, throw out the Crow and heal 2. It evolves for 1 into a 3/3, and on Evolve you select a demon follower in your cemetery and add it to hand. This is, I still find this a very weirdly phrased card, that it doesn't say like select a Togh Keyoh follower in your cemetery and add it to hand. And I still think like they were kind of keep doing this as like if you wanted Crimson Rose Queen as an option to grab back, you could. But normally you're gonna kind of grab like the boss monster of the deck, which we'll get to in just a second. But before that, we will talk about Grimoire Death Teller. She's a 2-cost 2/3 with Ward. On Fanfare, you bury the top 2 cards of your deck, so it helps you get to your 2 costs in Cemetery, and then act for 1 play point. You can summon it from the cemetery and give it last words, banish this card, and you can only activate it if you have at least 10 cards in your cemetery and no cards named herself on the field already. So there is a little bit of like a sequencing order. If you want to get 2 Grimoires on the board, 1 from the cemetery and 1 from hand, that you have to do the one from cemetery first. And then you could pay 2 to play the one from hand, because if you do it the other way and you play the one from hand first, then the one in cemetery is going to see that there's already a Grimoire on the field and you can't summon it back. So just kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't happen often, but if you're kind of newer to the deck and you're kind of just going through things, you're just like, I play Grimoire from hand, and then you look at your cemetery and you're just like, oh shoot, I should have played the one from the cemetery first. So it can potentially come up, and sometimes it might make or break a turn. So just kind of keep that in mind with Grimoire. Also, she's a good option to discard with Gnawing Rat, Ved, and the Wolfling Struggle token, because you could just discard her, and she could even potentially, I think in the second video that gets uploaded, I think I had it where I played like Ved from hand, and I discarded Grimoire, draw a card, and Grimoire was like literally the 10th card, so I was just like, pay 1, just bring Grimoire back. So it was almost like I didn't even lose her, and it was 1 less play point than what she normally is. So you know, she's kind of like a pseudo Trail of Light, but not really like literally a Trail of Light, but you know, works well with discarding. And then last is Ilze and Urze, Centennial Reapers. They are a 3-cost 3/3 that on Fanfare you bury the top 2 cards of your deck, and they evolve for 1 into a 4/4. And on evolve, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and you may put an Abyss card that costs 2 or less, or a Togh Keyoh card that costs 2 or less from among them into the EX area and costs 2 less to play this turn, and then you put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. And then on Super Evolve, you put a Diurnal Slumber token into your EX area, which is down here. And it's a 1-cost spell that says select up to 3 Togh Keyoh cards in your cemetery with different names that cost 2 or less and add them to hand. So keep in mind with Diurnal Slumber, it's 3 Togh Keyoh cards, not 3 Togh Keyoh followers. So normally what you want to do is grab Full Moon of Centennial Demise to help deal with boards. Since this is already, if you are playing the token and evolving Ilze and Urze, that's 5 play points total, which is already quite a bit for a turn. So you usually grab this to help deal with clearing the board out. You grab this as just a wild card for, you know, usually Ved, but literally anything you need that's a 2-cost Togh Keyoh card. And then you usually also just grab a copy of Ved. So it's basically like 2 copies of Ved and the Centennial Demise, essentially. Like, so it was really good. You could just play Demise and the copy of Ved you grab, and it's just like, cool, burn you 6. Like right there. So a really good way to bring the opponent down in life really easily. So keep that in mind. The on evolve effect is pretty solid too. It's the other, like, what is usually referred to as like the chipper skipper effect, where it's just like check X cards of your deck and like put 1 into the EX area and it's free for the turn. So checking top 5 is, you know, a lot of options there. The one thing I will say is keep in mind of Trail of Light again, because it is the one card in the deck that does not work with something that you can select, because it has to be an Abyss card that costs 2 or less, or a Togh Keyoh card. You're not running any neutral Togh Keyoh cards, so like this part doesn't really matter. So Trail of Light's kind of like the one stipulation, although honestly I think every time I've done Ilze and Urze, there's always been like at least one like acceptable option. Usually you want something like Grimoire, or even just like Gnawing Rat just to draw a free card, or, you know, Ved as well. Obviously, then the more times you can play Ved, the better, essentially. But yeah, and then they, you know, do keep in mind they turn into a 5/5 as well on Super Evolve. So that's the one exception. Although for what it's worth, do keep in mind with Yuzuki, her evolve does say you can just grab a 2-cost card from among them and put them into the EX area. So it is perfectly fine if you play Yuzuki to grab a copy of Trail of Light and just for free draw a card. So just kind of keep those odd little things in mind. There's that little bit of like weird nuance where you can't just say, oh, just count 2-cost cards because of Itsurugi. So yeah, just it could get a little awkward. The other deck list, by the way, before I forget, oh my god, I can't believe I'm already like halfway through this. I didn't even mention it, but these decks are on shadowshowdown.com if you want to take a look at them, and you can do like test hands with them and stuff here in the deck simulator. Both links will be in the description, so feel free to check out the site and try these decks out. The second one, I just called it 2-cost Togh Keyoh without Itsurugi. I'm not very creative with names. It is very, very similar. It is like 95% the same. About the only thing I think is that I swapped out. Yeah, I think it was literally just the Itsurugis. And I just replaced them with Dublame, Duke and Dame. He's a 2-cost card. He buries 1. It's not 2, unfortunately, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. But it's very generic. And then you can always just rush this in because on evolve he deals 2 damage to an enemy follower, but if you have Necrocharge 10, he deals 4 instead. And so, you know, play it, mill 1, evolve it, deal 2 or 4, rush it into something. Cool, you got 2, you know, 2 more 2 costs, usually in the cemetery. So this is, you know, obviously it's not as good as Itsurugi, but Itsurugi is kind of running short on supply. So I'm just trying to give at least a decent alternative option. I initially, for what it was worth, excuse me, I initially had Dublame as adherent of screams, which is very similar, and then I had Kagero switched out for the Rulanai, the newer Rulanai, the 2-cost 2/1 that has Rush and Assail and makes the tokens. And then I had the Soul Strike and 1 copy of Exhumation Crow as the Spiteful Scream spell to bring them back. However, after playing this weekend, I realized how much late game Kagero helps you like burn with the Soul Strike to finish off the games. And I don't think there's a lot of weird timings with getting Rulanai's fanfare effect to work with all the tokens that he makes, and I don't feel like it's as like consistent or as readily easy to do compared to Kagero. So and also Kagero just deals more damage anyway, so you know, why not? The Rulanai fanfare of destroying an enemy follower and burning the opponent 3, you gotta have 3 of the Rulanai tokens on the board, and Kagero is just like, you just play him, grab the Soul Strike, deal 4 to something. And I personally prefer the deal 4 instead of just destroying an enemy follower, because then if they have 1 follower that, let's say, has like 5 or more defense, you can activate multiple Kageros on the same follower, where you can't do that with Rulanai because it'll just like instant kill it. So a little bit of pros and cons. I think you could, you know, make a decent deck with the Rulanai package, the Screaming package as well, but I was trying to keep it as much close to the original, you know, the normal Togh Keyoh 2-cost build as possible. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna put Dublame in instead of Itsurugi. So there's certainly a lot of other 2-costs you can pick and choose from if you are short on certain cards over others. So, you know, feel free. I tried several different things myself. I tried like Gold Rush Ghost. God, what was some other things I was trying? Oh my god, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I remember I tried Gold Rush Ghost, and while it seemed nice because early game I could mill 2 like Kagero and still storm for 2, and then late game, if I play Gold Rush Ghost and I didn't want to mill more, I could just make the APC token and heal 1, and then just, you know, make it a 2/3 with Storm and War. The 2 damage is not enough compared to like just doing the Soul Strike. The other thing you could do, I'm just gonna switch back over to like at least the main build. The other thing that the only little difference I made from like the one I saw online that came in second, I think out of like 26 or 27 people or something like that, was I had put in 3 copies of Exhumation Crow instead of it was 2 copies of Exhumation Crow and 2 copies of Soul Strike, and I just put 3 Crow instead, mainly because I'm not even doing this until I like literally have about like 5 or less cards left in deck. And at that point, I might as well just spend, if he is that low, if Soul Strike is like literally that low to the deck, just play some play points to just mill the rest of your deck and then just start playing Kageros. Like, it is, like, when you start playing this, you are like on death's door. Like, you just need to finish the game. So, like, by that point, Soul Strike should be in the cemetery like 9 times out of 10. And then the Exhumation Crow is nice because sometimes I've had a few games where it's like, I'll like mill a couple Ilze and Urzes, and it's just like, I can't, like, I gotta find crows, and the crows were like down towards the bottom half of the deck. And so I'm just like, cool, I'm not even able to get Ilze and Urze even going to do the super evolve or even the regular evolve. So I just threw this up to 3. Honestly, I am like half debating on either taking out the Covetous Serpent and putting 1 more Evo of Exhumation Crow, or like I said earlier, like just make a 3rd Itsurugi on evolve. Usually Ilze and Urze you're gonna like evolve ideally at least twice, once normally on like turn 3/4 if you're going first or second, and then later on in the game to on super evolve them so you can get the diurnal slumber token. But you know, you could always just top deck a third, you know, another instance of trying to evolve Ilze and Urze. It can happen, so you know, that's why you run 3 copies of their on evolve or their evolve copy. So that's kind of pretty much my thoughts so far. I do like the deck. It is fun. It's a little weird if you can. The deck seems to want to go second if you can. Like it can function first. That's fine. And if you do go first, like the kind of turn 1 you want to do is just start putting pressure on with the rat. I mean, like Luna's fine as well for turn 1, but the rat just turn 1 just catches people off guard, and it's just like, here's a goblin, deal with it. It's just like, oh god, not a lot of things run like 1 cost, deal 2 effects right now. So I think like maybe Draconic Duelist might be like the only one I can think of off my head that does with the spear. But it's not a lot of depth, so it can catch people off guard. The rat sometimes has surprisingly stayed on the board longer than I thought it should, because it's just like they have just enough stuff to deal with everything else, but the rat just keeps staying, and it's just like the least concern of everything else on the board. But it just keeps hitting for 2, so it's just like it does keep, you know, cutting life down. Especially with how much you can board spam with Yuzuki's on evolve and Ilze and Urze's on evolve, so you can board spam pretty decently well with this deck. So let me know if you have any questions or anything in the comments, and you know, I try to get to them as much as possible. And yeah, have a great day, guys. Bye.